Hello, and we have an interesting panel for you guys today. This is usually the panel I would be putting on while I'm at a Comic Con, but instead you guys get it for free at home. You don't have to pay admission, and I got some great creators on for you. This is how to create, promote, brand your comics in 2020, and we will even be talking about things that have to do with the coronavirus and a way to get around it. That's actually going to be something we're going to really focus on because there are a lot of creators who are wondering what they can do now that things aren't what they should be. And remember to always advocate for indie comics. All right, guys. So we're going to start off with the introductions. We'll start with Varian and go around the room. By the way, for those, because I'm actually on CyberCon, it's weird. I'm on a new platform. People might not know who I am. I thought I was infamous enough to be known, but in case I'm not, I am the underground indie advocating devil. And I am here to entertain you with an amazing panel with three amazing people. We're going to start off with my good friend, Varian, who doesn't have a picture. Would you like me to put up a picture for you, Varian?
No, thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Varian Grant. I'm the co-owner of Last Call Comics. Been so for the last 8 years. Founder of Indie Vote Media LLC. Started making comics back in 2008. First book ever published was a black and white interior action comedy called Psycho Sirens. I'm a father, a husband, a geek, creator, publisher, reluctant taxpayer, and artist. Shamefully not in that order. And I'm happy to be here today.
And we have Luke Stone.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke Stone. I am the writer and the artist behind Hybrids, the Sons of Gods. Right now, it's got in its last, I think, like 26 hours left on Kickstarter. So you could definitely check that out. Go to Kickstarter. You can get a cover like that. It's pretty awesome. I am the project manager at Starcross Comics. I've been writing and drawing comics for probably the last 5 or 6 years. Been drawing my whole life, but really focusing on indie comics the last 5 or 6 years. And you can find me on, pretty much all the platforms. Just Google Luke Stone Studios, and you'll find me there. So.
And I am proud to introduce one of the first inductees into the Independent Creator Awards Hall of Fame. It's the one, the only Roland Mann. He can do a better job of telling the people who he is. Who are you, Roland?
Yeah, listen to the other introductions. I suddenly feel like the really old man. I've been in comics since 1989, which is true. My first comic was published in 1989, actually 1988, but I kind of don't count that. When I did Cat and Mouse for EF Graphics, I went on to then do a lot of work for Malibu for a couple of years. Malibu hired me to become an editor, and I moved out to California and became an editor of the Protectors line, where I did Protectors, Dinosaurs for Hire, X-Mutants, and some other assorted titles. Marvel bought the company, and that's how I became a Marvel editor. And then the Protectors line of comics folded, and I moved over to Ultraverse, which is kind of where most people know me as an editor. And I edited titles such as Sludge, Nightman, Strangers, Prototype, and did that for a couple years until the crash affected Marvel and they fired 400 people. I was one of those. It wasn't personal. I was just a number. They canceled the entire Ultraverse line. And but then I took the knowledge that I had gained while at Marvel, and I started a small press company called Silverline. And I published it was the wrong time to do it. I mean, obviously Marvel was going bankrupt and firing people. Don't know what made me think I could jump in and change the industry, but I did. I thought I could. And published 13 books, lost a lot of money and stopped doing that around 2001. Went back to school, got a graduate degree, started teaching college, which is what I do today as a full-time job. And probably, what year is this? Probably about 5 years ago, I started making comics again a little more seriously as a hobby. And last year, a bunch of friends of mine convinced me to relaunch Silverline as a publisher because of our new technology, print on demand, all that kind of stuff. And so I did, and I relaunched Silverline last year, and we've been going guns a-blazing since then. And I'm having a blast doing it.
All right, guys. So first question right out the door. How are you all doing in this current environment where we have had San Diego Comic-Con canceled? We don't know when our next convention is at this point, and there is definitely a feeling that we might be done for 2020. What are the plans? What's the strategy? We've already created a book, and for those watching, Q&A is open. If you have a question, feel free to ask it, and we'll do our best to answer it. But go ahead. What do you guys think? Varian, do you want to start just because I can't see you? We'll start over with you.
Sure. I'm saving money. I'm saving money. I did not notice. I'm kind of amazed that I'm like, wait a minute, why do I have all this disposable income? Oh, there's no cons. Which sucks because I do like cons. I do like going. I think right now though, trying to use this extra time that I will be on the road to create more content, to give myself a nice buffer for when things are normalized again. Now I'll have that much more content to kind of put out over time. I don't want to put out everything that I've done at one point. Here guys, here's 8 new comics. I think it's a little much, but I will stagger it out. But I'm just taking time to create more stuff, and I think that's how it's affected me. I don't think that San Diego canceling definitely sent a shockwave through some of my friends, because it was like, oh wait a minute, this is real now. Because first was postponed, and I'm wondering, and some of them are wondering, if that's going to be the thing that caused a lot of other shows that have said we postponed to now say, okay, we're not doing it in 2020, which I think is a smart move. I do.
What do you think, Luke? How are you surviving?
Well, I don't want to use the word thrive because I don't think any of us are really thriving. But I mean, this is kind of a good time creatively for me. I typically, because of my day job, I only get to do about 4 cons a year anyway. So it has definitely, these bigger cons shutting down has changed kind of the waters for which I'm going to be able to swim. But now I'm looking for smaller ponds, and I'm looking for things that are late September, early October, and that might only bring in a few hundred people, but it might bring in the right few hundred people. And that's like there's one in my old hometown Kokomo that's in early October, kind of early to mid October, and I'm thinking that might work out well because I'm from there. I can go visit family and then sell some books while I'm there. So you're just trying to take advantage of kind of multitasking with some of these events and stuff, but utilizing a platform like Kickstarter has been actually really good for the last month that I've been on there, and then just networking with a lot of people and trying to find new ways to promote. It's been it's not been as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Luke.
And Roland, what about you? How are you adjusting? Because you're also a publisher now with Silverline.
Yeah. I mean, like these guys said, we're still working. And I think, fortunately for us, I mean, it's one of these things. We're trying to take advantage of a terrible situation. Several of the creators that I worked with are like, hey, my job, it doesn't exist anymore. I can draw more pages. And so I found that the output of some of the artists that I've been working with has increased. Again, it's a terrible situation because they're not going to their day jobs. I'm in education at the university level, so I'm one of the very fortunate ones. I know this. I remember this every single day. So I'm still teaching. I'm still teaching on everything shifted online, but I am still teaching. I think my job is actually a little bit harder not being on campus in front of a group and getting 50 million emails from the students where I would have just taken 5 minutes to address something in front of the class. It takes me 45 minutes or an hour to answer the various emails. I'm not complaining again. It's a shift. It's a change for me, but I know I'm very fortunate to still have that job. Funny for me, I didn't have a whole lot of shows scheduled early in the year, which was kind of odd. The first show I was actually scheduled to do wasn't until the end of May. So we haven't even passed that yet, but it wasn't until the end of May, and they just canceled that one. This was in Pennsylvania, and they just canceled that one a few weeks ago. So I mean, I'm still looking. I'm still counting on, because I'm the eternal. Anyone who knows me, I'm the eternal optimist. I think this stuff's going to be over real quick. I'm still counting on going to Kissimmee in August. I'm still counting on being in Daytona in October. So, the way I look at things, I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that some of the artists that I'm working with have more time, and we're gonna try to get more stuff ready. I've been shipping out books. I shipped out books this week to some retailers who said, "Hey, we can't get Marvel and DC books now. What do you got?" I send them a list of stuff, and sometimes I send them PDFs if they want to preview it, because they're like, "Yeah, we haven't seen your books at all. Can you show us?" And that's usually beneficial to me. Funny thing, I sent some PDFs to one retailer, and they literally answered back, "I want 10 of these, 10 of these, 10 of these, 3 of these, 3 of these." I'm like, "Great, let me get them to you." So that's me.
Sorry, my computer suddenly froze. I'm trying to share out the links for everyone so they can share it. So let's get back to the brass tactics of comic books, right? Let's start off with, how do you begin? How do you begin the process? And of course, the process in itself is pretty simple. We went over this step by step the other day, but here's the process quickly. You got to start off with an idea. The idea has to become a story or an outline. And then you have to get an editor. After you get an editor, you get an artist. If you're not the artist, of course, some of these are interchangeable. And you have to get the rest of the team together. Once you get the rest of the team together, you start to put together the work. And then finally, you get a product that hopefully has been put together professionally. And it is something that the community wants. So we're going to start there in the conversation today about, how do you, in this current world, how do we feel about Kickstarter and crowdfunding? Is this a good time or a bad time? I was just on a panel where I told Monty, a creator, great artist, that he should kickstart right now, because there's no time like today, and people know their finances. People know the money that they have, and just to act like no one's going to have money, it's not the right time to do that. That's just more panic and fear. We all have stimulus checks coming. I haven't found mine, but I heard that a lot of Americans got theirs so far. So you guys got money, so why shouldn't you be buying Kickstarters? And of course, Luke's on Kickstarter right now, so we're going to start with Luke. Is this a bad time? Should we not be on Kickstarter, my friend?
It's not been bad for me. Heck, I went up $700 in the last 23 hours. So no, it's a good time right now. I actually just had one backer just say, "Hey, I wanted to, let me do some add-ons. I don't want to do the hard times package because that's for people that are on hard times. I'm doing well. I'm an essential employee. I've got a paycheck, and I want to buy this comic." So people, they know where they're at financially. Some people, but they're adults, and we have to treat our customers like they're adults. If they can afford to back a project and buy that book and use Kickstarter as a distribution method, then do that. If they can't afford to do it, then they won't do it. And there's no pressure for anyone to buy. There's no pressure for anyone to back something. But people do need entertainment, and they're not getting it from some of these other places. And I personally believe that, companies like Silverline, companies like Starcross Comics or Scout Comics, I believe that they're really putting out some of the best content that's out there. Places like Varian's company, I think these guys are really, they're just putting out some of the best content that's out there. It's original, it's non-regurgitated stuff, it's nuanced, it's layered, and it's inspired. And so I think people want that stuff, and now people get to see it, and the best way to distribute that stuff is through Kickstarter. And most people, if not everyone, is using Kickstarter.
I'd have to agree with that. I got to give kudos to Luke for their I may get the title exactly a little bit wrong, but the Hard Times pledge level.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I'm like, you know what? That's a brilliant idea. You still got, as you mentioned, people like me who are still working. I'm very fortunate. People like me. I don't need a Hard Times level, but there are people who do, and I'm like, that was from my perspective, that was a brilliant move on your part, and I think a very generous move for those who are on Hard Times. But yeah, I think this is a great time. Someone much smarter than me who I used to work with did some research at one point in time, and he's a guy who illuminated this to me. Which, it's one of these things that as a creator, you kind of think, I'm not sure that I like this because I don't want to wish this. But if you look at any kind of market research, entertainment in general, but entertainment does better during economically hard times than it does in economically good times. And a reason to explain that is that people have time. They don't really, you think, well, they don't really have money. No, but they have time. So they're going to go to the movies. They're going to read books. They're going to read comic books because they're not going to their jobs. So they've got time. So this is one of those times, as we said, it's still our job to provide the entertainment. And if we look at our industry now, and I don't think this will last very long, but they're not getting Marvel comics. They're not getting DC comics. These are the two big boys. That's a whole nother discussion. We can talk all about that, but they're not getting those. So they still want their comic book entertainment somewhere. And I think that's where it's on us to step up and say, you know what? Here's your alternative in this hard time. And we think you're still going to like it.
I completely agree with you on that. And I have to say that there is no time like the present for Indiegogo. There is no time like the present. You can't ever worry about fear. That's why you build a fan base. You do the best you can. And if you fail, you wipe yourself off, you get your ass back up, and you do it again.
Yep.
And that's exactly what indie comics is. If you're not willing to get beat down a little bit, you don't belong here. Every one of us gets bruised metaphorically by this industry, if not physically trying to go to a con. The one thing I don't miss about going to cons right now is the backaches from trying to set things up.
Yeah, you've got this huge setup that you carry around with you, though.
Oh, no, I shrunk it.
Did you?
I've gotten old, Roland. That was the young me. That was years ago.
You come in with these big carts full of stuff, and I'm like, man, you're bringing a whole shop with you.
Yeah, and you know what? I learned, and that's actually, yes, Jax, hi. I learned
What's up, Jax?
Everything is super important. He's throwing around some stuff. Yeah. Hey, Jax, go sit down. But it's one of those things where you have to learn your inventory, and you have to learn what you're actually going to be selling. So let me ask you guys, how do you determine your inventory? Oh, Varian, you didn't talk about Kickstarter. Before we go, I want to hear your thoughts on Kickstarter and Indiegogo.
I think Kickstarter and Indiegogo are, at this point, essential. I'm almost willing to say, and I know this is kind of controversial, but I'm almost willing to say we are seeing a clear division in the marketplace of people who only now go to Kickstarter or Indiegogo for their comics. They're not going to the stores. They say the stores don't have anything for them anymore. So they're buying their comics from Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and it's weird because that means you're willing to wait. In most cases, you're willing to wait 2-3 months, maybe up to a year for that book. These are really, I want to call them almost like destination comics now. That doesn't make any sense, but it's like an event comic. I'm waiting for hybrids. I'm waiting for a book that I just pre-ordered, or basically, and that's kind of what you did. You pre-ordered the book. I'm waiting for that book to come out. I don't even think that. I think that helps create a buzz as well, because people now they want that book. They're waiting for it for 6 to 8 months, and they're excited. You can't buy better hype than that. But I do think that it's almost essential now that and it's given the people, the creators, the opportunity to kind of take their distribution and ownership of their property to themselves. They don't have to come to me as a publisher and put out, and split their profit with me. They don't have to. They can kind of go out there themselves and hit, a wide market, at least in the beginning. I still think there's a need for publishers, but I like Kickstarter. I like Indiegogo. I like Indiegogo a little bit better than Kickstarter though. So now, I'll throw that in there.
All right. I will say this, and of course, checking in. We are here for NSC Live, part of their panel series. See, I'm giving you guys Comic-Con sound. Little kids running around the back.
Oh, yeah.
NSC Live, and we are proud to join you with the Hang in the Web show and HWWS Web TV and NSC Live for CyberCon 2020. We're super excited that we are doing this and being part of this, but we miss going to regular cons, which brings us to the next question. How do you guys determine inventory levels? That's definitely a question a lot of people don't actually talk about. And, whenever I go to a panel, and you all know this because you've all done panels, you have a list of what you want to talk about, but then, and Roland knows this, I open it up to the audience right away. So whatever they say becomes the conversation. But I love to talk about inventory levels because, like Roland said, when I first started, I had no clue what I was doing, and I'm a retail
I
background.
didn't say that.
No, but
I
I
didn't say you had no clue.
No, what you were saying about bringing too much was absolutely true. I didn't know what I was doing, so I had the retail mentality: you bring more than you need because you never want to sell out. And I didn't know how to track it. I learned quickly in my everything. Plus, also, when you have one book, you need more show, like a Peacock. But when you suddenly have a library of books, you don't have time to play Peacock. Your books are playing Peacock. So for me, it took a little bit of time of learning what the difference between the shows were, 4-day to a 1-day, what expectations were. And I actually started doing something really clever. And I want to know if you guys do this. I look up before I go to a show the census information. What's the median income? What is the general demographics of the area? Is there a college nearby? Is there a school nearby? Because for me, I don't do a lot of high school stuff. So high schools are bad. College students are great. Yeah. And what's the environment of that area? And of course, some of it you learn by going to the shows. Mm-hmm. You actually physically have to go get a feel for it and understand, was this a bad area? Was this a bad area for me? Because maybe I just don't have a product in this area. Or is this a bad promoter? And of course, that's why we had started GradeCon this year, which we're not promoting right now. There's not a lot. I mean, I don't want to grade virtual cons because virtual cons, I think, should get a pass. It's at least someone's trying. Unless you're charging, don't charge for virtual spaces. Yeah. That's just ugly. Yeah. But what do you guys think? Don't be afraid. I don't bite.
I'll let someone go first.
Okay. Yeah, because you travel a lot. You actually go from Michigan to Florida to all over.
Yeah. Well, as far as inventory goes, that's a wife question because she monitors all the inventory.
Hold on, I'll go reach out to her and ask her.
Yeah. Ask her because that's a wife question. I don't do the inventory. Oh, here she comes. What's the question? How do you monitor inventory? I know that every couple of weeks she pulls out all the boxes and you count things by hand.
I count things by hand, but I also have a notebook full of stuff.
Now, do you determine what we're taking to a show because you know how we've done? Like, we're going to a repeat show. Do you we're not going to sell this many of that book because last year we didn't?
Certain items. When it comes to books or artwork, I bring things you never know. Yeah. Every year's different. Mm-hmm. But like when it comes to some of our other things, I don't.
And if it's a new show, because we have a lot we bring.
When it's a new show, I go hard.
Yeah.
I bring whatever we have.
Yeah. And she acts like she doesn't understand that the person who has to carry this usually is me. So I'm normally coming in for a bunch of stuff. I see you guys are very Higgins in it.
Sorry, my son's going crazy in the background, and then I came back. I saw Roland do it, and I was like, "Hell no! I'm not being out on my own show."
I did it because I saw Martin Piero of Cosmic Time say something, so I wanted to let him know that I got the book that he sent out.
But that's a good point. New shows you want to bring more variant. That's a good point. I want to know from because I know Luke, you don't do as many shows a year, but Roland now has to go as a publisher. How has that changed the outlook of how you're packing?
Yeah, so that's still a weird zone for me because I don't first think of myself as a publisher. I still think of myself as a creator, and whenever I reach out to conventions, I'm reaching out as a creator. Obviously, one exception would be the Daytona Beach Comic-Con, which I have a really good relationship with the promoter there, and Silverline kind of set up in a big way. That's if you were to ask me if Silverline has a home convention, that's probably it. The Daytona Beach Comic-Con is the Silverline home convention. But we want to talk about. But I want to circle back to your question, which was about inventory. So since I started using Square several years ago to take credit card payments, I have started using Square to monitor my inventory. Square has a neat little aspect of what they do that you can enter in your inventory, and you can set alerts on there. So if you get to a certain number, it will alert you, hey, you only have 5 copies of this, or hey, you've got 15 copies, whatever the level you want it to be. So I use that to monitor my inventory. Now that's kind of how I keep up with it for me, and how I know that I need to reorder something. The toughest thing is to figure out how much product to take to a show, and I wish I had the magic answer for that, but I don't. But what I do know is that over time you'll figure out, I can sell 1 or 2 copies of this product at a show, or I'm really going to be pushing this one, so I think I'm going to sell 20, 25, maybe 30 copies of this one at a show. But there's no guarantees, there's no promises, there's no there's no way to 100% gauge it. It becomes an educated guess. So I have some product that when I go to shows, I take 1 copy, because if I sell, it's an older thing. For instance, for me, like my novel, right? Nobody's interested in my novel at a comic show, comic convention. But, every other show I sell a copy of my novel, and I don't know which show it's going to be. So I just carry 1 copy. There's a couple of comic books that I've worked on that I still have inventory. I carry, 2 or 3 copies of that. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space. But again, the newer stuff, like if I were to do a show tomorrow, you would see me with 20 copies of Cat and Mouse #1 and maybe 25 or 30 copies of Cat and Mouse #2, because it's the most recent one, right? Because that's the one that I am pushing for me. But yeah, I'm a big believer in Square to kind of monitor and keep up with the inventory.
And that's a great point. I actually don't like Square for all shows. I think PayPal's a little easier for me, just signal-wise. I don't know why it works better with Apple, but I do like the Square feature. It is really good, actually.
So I'll tell you why I use Square instead of PayPal, and you're going to, you may not, but some people may laugh at me. I use Square because of PayPal, because up until just a couple of months ago, I didn't have like a legit cell phone. I carried an electronic device, which was a cell phone, but it was one of those Wi-Fi only things. So I didn't have a signal, and I needed Wi-Fi in order to get, to receive the payments. Mm-hmm. So yeah, recently I have a cell phone. I still don't use it. I still don't carry it. So don't ask for my number, because I won't give it to you, because I don't ever use it. I don't even know where it is right now, to be honest with you. But I got it primarily so that I could take it to shows where I was having problems getting signals.
For us, we went over to Square recently because we were having a problem with PayPal would constantly start to limit our account. So you put in, like, you couldn't even have anybody like, for instance, we once had a customer send in an order, and in the order they give you a spot in the order form to put in a comment, and he said, "Thanks for the awesome swear word effing pictures," and their bots crawled over that, saw that. Boom, account limited, money locked, you can't get it. And their new lock isn't like it used to be, like 30 or 60 days or whatever. Now it's 190 days. And
that's not right.
Yeah. It's a pain now. So
yeah, and I would get the lock when I did really well at a show. So what you're telling me is basically you don't believe in me enough to actually do well at a show. You're selling way too much. Something's wrong. We've read your comics. You suck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's and now they limit you. They limit everyone, and you can't get your money 190 days. I mean, and that doesn't. If you're swiping cards all day, and I call up Roland and I say, "Hey, Roland, man, listen, that's funny, Roland, man." But hey,
I've not heard that my whole life. No,
I can't pay you for 190 days on these comics I just sold because PayPal just blocked my account, he might be sympathetic to that and understand it, but it's still an inconvenience for him.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we went over to Square, because we had to deal with any of that. It was just it was pretty easy. So we went over. We still have PayPal, but just in case.
Yeah. And I still use PayPal too. And I am not assuming the monetary situation of anyone here, but I am kind of going to say it anyway. I kind of assume we're not big enough that we can deal with a 180 or whatever you say, how many day. You know, I couldn't deal with that. It's like, no, I've got my money in this product, and when I move it, I need that. I can't wait 4 months or 5, however long that is. I can't do math. You know, I can't wait that long. It's like, and the other thing is, PayPal, that's my money. It's not yours, right? I'm using you. You're taking your cut. Give me mine.
I still have money locked up at PayPal at 190 days. I'm just getting close to the end of it with one of the other accounts that we have, because they'll find any reason they can to say, no, we're limiting your account. And I get it. I get they're protecting themselves. But it's like, dude, this is like the 4th account you guys have done this to. So we try not to keep that much in the PayPal account.
Yeah.
But, you know, we do have Square, and we have PayPal account now that we keep. It's very strict. We don't do anything but, you know, maybe 1 or 2 transactions out of it a month. You know, none so far. I don't think we've done. Maybe we did like 1 this year on that one, because, you know, the cons were still open in January. But yeah. Luke, are you taking credit card charges at conventions? Do you take cards or just cash on?
I have not. I do sometimes take cards and stuff like that, but it's kind of a hassle. I like to use a kind of like a package deal and just take cash, or like I'll have people cash at me or PayPal me money. So the last couple conventions I went to, my card reader didn't show up, and so I just had to do it that way. It was a little inconvenient in some cases, but it worked out fine, because most people have Apple Pay, things like that, where they can just shoot money over pretty easily. So that's what I did. I hate using PayPal. If I can avoid it, I will, because they charge so much on those transactions, where like something like Cash App is, you know, where it's free. So I'm actually making the money. I'd rather use cash anyway. I'm a libertarian, so that's just me.
The dinosaur creator, and that's James Hodson, says signal hack, downgrade your signal on your phone to lower bandwidth. I think what he's saying is that, if you degrade your own signal, you have more of a chance of getting a lower degraded signal than actually a higher signal at a convention. Wow. A trick I have actually done in the past. And that's a great hack. Thank you for bringing it up. I wouldn't have thought to say that actually out there on my own.
I will say this, because of the mention of cash only. For a long time, I was cash only, and again, I didn't have a cell phone. For a long time, I was cash only, but it reached a point, and I'm going to say I don't. It's not recorded or anything, but I want to say probably around 2010 or 11, something like that. I was doing a show. I did it. It was in Memphis. I remember exactly where it was. It was in Memphis, and I had about 4 people pull out a card to buy some graphic novels from me, and I just said, I'm sorry, I'm cash only, and they're like, oh, I don't have $30 for this, for your graphic novels. You can't take cards in any kind of way, and I couldn't. And so I lost about 4 sales that day. And I said, okay, this has to change, because I know that society in general, they're going to this. And so I immediately that's when I went out and got a $20, shoot, what's the word I'm looking for? I just said it a while ago. It has no signal, but just got a $20 phone, so I could have Wi-Fi. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Wi-Fi signals, and I could still connect that way. And it changed. I will say probably now it varies from con to con, right? But I'll say probably 75% of what I do now is for cards.
First one I had was from a bank. It was actually
a bank.
Yeah, they gave me a reader, a mobile reader. I still have it. And I could walk around with it and scan it. It had its own phone number.
Wow.
And they were charging me, was it like $80, $90 a month for that? like
Oh,
$89 a month for
Ooh,
that. And
nice.
well, because remember, the bank is gonna always upsell you. Hey, here, take
Right.
this. You'll need this. You'll need that. And they stuck me with that thing, and it got good signal. Don't get me wrong. It got me a great signal. My money was like 2 or 3 days to get to my account, which was through them. I don't understand why it took that long, but regardless, it was kind of a waste. I got rid of that very quickly.
Yeah, I would imagine.
We have to definitely do this comment. No reason behind it, but this comment says, "I would buy your comics in a heartbeat, Rob." Oh, thank you. She says, "I only carry cash at cons now."
And a lot of people do.
No, but that's also somewhat dangerous to get into that mentality to always carry cash.
Mm-hmm.
There have been people who've gotten robbed at conventions, and that's why a lot of creators have actually started carrying less cash because it has become a more common thing in the past.
So can I tell you something that really irritates me as a creator?
Go for it.
All right. So I'm a planner. All right. It's probably the editor in me. I'm a planner. I always make sure I've got a little money bag. The bank will give you these little money bags, and I count out my change right before every single show. And I usually have 5s and 1s in my bag. Okay. It irritates the fire out of me to go to a show and sit next to somebody and them say, "Hey, I didn't bring any change. Can you break this 100 for me?" I'm like, "No, I have 1s and 5s, and you want me to break a 100 for a $10 sale? No, I'm not gonna." Of course, then they look at me like the rest of the show, like, "You're a jerk. Why wouldn't you break money for me?" I'm like, "Because I planned. I come to conventions all the time, and I bring money. You also claim to be a professional. Where's your change?"
All right, Roland,
That irritates the fire out of me.
Roland, I already said sorry. How many more times do I have to say sorry to you?
No.
What you do is you offer that service at a fee, like, oh, it's 100, well, it'll be X amount for me to change it.
10%. Teller fee.
Yeah,
Sorry.
the problem with that though is it would, I mean, depending on when the show is, I guess, or what point in the show is, but that would wipe me breaking 100, and this legitimately happened, and it happened at Daytona too. This is the last time I remember it, but this guy just turned around to me and said, "Hey man, can you break this?" I'm like, "No, I can't."
I gotta know now. I'm gonna ask you off there. I think I know. In my head. That Joel guy. No, I'm just kidding. Joel is very much like a banker when it comes.
Oh yeah.
Like he ran out of change one time when we were next to each other because we were doing well, and he looked paranoid. He was like, Rob, can it was like the guy with the stapler from
right.
Like, can I have some change possibly? He didn't
Well,
know.
if he had handed me a 20 and said, "Hey, hey, can you break this?" But it was $100 bill, and I'm like, no, it was he want. Yeah, I just like no.
You know what I'm doing at Daytona this year when it happens, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask Roland for some change.
And I'm going to smile and hug you and say, "No, Rob."
I'm with Roland on that one. I plan ahead. There's when you're doing when you are a creator of comics, or even an artist, if you're going to set up at a convention, you have to also like engage your business brain, the businessman side of your brain or businesswoman side of your brain. And so I bring my wife with me, and she's like, "Okay, here's the change. She's keeping track of inventory. She's like, "Okay, you can do this many more packages. Someone just wanted one of these, one of those, one of those, it's like, so this is what we've got." And, so it's, you've got to approach it like a business. I mean, if you don't, then, because you really are. It is. It's your business. So
Absolutely.
You mentioned bringing the wife. Once again, that's someone who takes care of the change for us. And we were on our way to a con, our hometown con, Motor City Comic Con, and we're going in Friday morning very early, and we realized we don't have any change. And she's like, "Oh, well, it's not a problem. The bank is right there. I'll just go in the bank." Well, my wife, when she goes to cons, she dresses like
Watch your words.
Yeah, I gotta watch my words on this. Yeah, but she basically she had on a pair of fishnets and a tutu, and a very low cut tank top.
So she's your booth babe.
Yeah. And I think she was wearing those like 6-inch boots at that point too. But she walks in the bank to get change, and I didn't want to go in with her because are you coming in? I'm like, no, because I don't want to be embarrassed. Why should I be embarrassed with you? But I did go in with her, and it was an awkward time in the bank. They gave us a change though, not without a couple of looks though.
Well, I will say this: when it comes to money, you do have to be a little careful now because there are actual businesses that are limiting taking money now as well. That's a new world. And I remember one time I wanted to put money into a bank account of a friend, and they acted like, "Well, we can't take money." I'm like, "You're a bank. Please walk me through this very slowly for me." And they were like, "Oh no, we can't take it." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "You have to transfer it." So money is becoming a little harder to deal with, but I do carry money with me. And I'll tell you a funny story. I was at where were we? We were up in North Carolina, so it was Raleigh, and I have my son who's always with me. You can hear him in the background. And Roland has seen me do an interview while chasing him, so that's my life. So when I make sales, I have this tendency to just throw the money, just throw it in like a corner. So I'm going to do a panel, and Joe looks over and he's there like, "Are you going to put the money away?" I'm like, "What money?" And there's just the stack of like money over, like pouring out, dropping onto the floor because I've been chasing jacks. And he's like that. And I'm like, "It'll be okay." He's like, "You trust me?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Joe, we traveled all the way here together. I think I can trust you." He was like, "Really, you have to put some of that away." And he was mad at me because there were like $20 bills just falling as I'm walking around. He's like, "Don't you care?" And I'm like, "No." He's like, "How do you keep track of your sales?" I was like, "It's all in my head." And I can do that. I can keep track of every book I write. And as I'm walking away from my table, I'll put it into my phone. So he's there like, "But what if you lose money?" I'm like, "It's just money. I'll make more later." Like, I'm horrible with money. I don't respect it. I never have since I was a kid. I'm like a kid at a candy store. I see something, I'm like, "Ooh, let me buy that." Who needs to worry about rent? That's a month away.
It's funny when we're at a con and I'm messing around. I get distracted by all this stuff, because ADHD. I'm a kid at heart. I'm a comic fan, so if somebody else is doing something cool, I want to go look at it. My wife would be like, "Focus and make some more money."
Yeah.
In fact, during this quarantine thing the other day, she was like, I was goofing off in the kitchen. She goes, "Go back to your cave and make $100."
And Sarah S says she wants a free Spanx and Hugs shirt, and I can absolutely make sure that happens at one point.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, that's been one of the best sellers. So this is a great segue for merchandise. How important is merchandise for you guys outside of comic books? Do you guys sell T-shirts? Do you sell stickers? Do you sell buttons or something like, I don't know, hit me with something random like our good friend Matt Knowles does the gauntlets. So what do you guys do? I guess hats.
Merchandise.
I guess
merchandising. Check it out. There we go.
Yeah.
You want people to wear this stuff. Oh yeah, more pens. You want some of that? You want some of this? Yeah, it's all about people want to engage. Oh yeah, T-shirts. People want to engage with your stuff. You want them to read the story, get into that, really enjoy it as much as they can, but they can only spend so much time reading that book. They'll maybe give it a once read through, maybe a twice or a third time if you're lucky. But if you can, yeah, there you go. See if you can give them something to walk away with and wear. We've got this thing. Let me show them. I got a hybrids phone grips. So we got these things that we're putting out now. So these are kind of cool. I never used one before. It's like a little gimmick or whatever. My kids were like, "Yo, we should get phone grips for the hybrids," and I'm like, "Hey!" And it turns out I love the thing. So, but yeah, like merchandise for me, like at the last few cons, I didn't have it. All I had was books, and I'm like, but I had posters and stickers and trading cards, and so I tried to get all that other stuff because you can use those things for package deals to sell your books. Because people want to feel like they're walking away with an experience, and honestly, I want people walking around with a hybrids hat or a hybrid shirt because people's like, "What's that?" And like, "Oh, well, it's this comic book, and it's this." They get into the story, and they're like, "Oh, well, you can go to this website and buy it," or they're just selling it around the corner, kind of thing. So I think merchandise is super important.
I agree. I got a ton of merchandise, company-related merchandise. We got name my company Last Call Comics, and we've got T-shirts. We've got beer mug flash drives. We've got a lot of stuff. We got little plushies of our mascot Tipsy. We do so much stuff, and I've had people. I had a guy who's now sitting at home raising his child, who's no longer involved in comics, actually talk about me. What kind of we didn't have any books at one point, so I brought all this additional Last Call Comics merchandise, and he put a little smart mouth comment on Facebook. Whatever publisher comes to a Comic-Con, without any books. And he's sitting at home now. So my question is, what type of artist does it go to Comic-Con? But without me being petty, having that merchandise has saved us, because there are shows that sometimes people don't want a book. I've had people walk up to me and buy a shirt based on our logo and not a book, and I couldn't figure it out. Like, what if I say a book for $2? What if I just take a book with you? I know I appreciate you buying a t-shirt and hat combo, but
I don't really.
Yeah,
I don't really want to read your book, but I'll wear your shirt. Yeah.
But the merchandise has pulled us out of the fire a few times. And if you're not merchandising, if you're not putting your logo on a hat, on a cup, and the other best advice I ever got, and I'll make this very quick. See, he's right. Varian has so much merch, you can't tell he sells comics. He's absolutely right. The best piece of advice I ever got was at a Wizard World Chicago panel years ago, where they had I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he said, imagine the coolest shirt that you possibly could was your favorite character on it. Okay. How much are you willing to pay for that shirt? And for me, it's like, well, okay, a Wolverine shirt. He's got his, so, any shirt Wolverine on would be awesome. He says, okay, how much are you willing to pay for that shirt? And I thought, oh man, I'm a sucker for Wolverine, but if I was being a stickler of the show, 25, maybe 30. He says, okay, now take that and cut it in half. That's how much you're going to sell your original IP shirt for. And that has always this has been one of my methods throughout my merchandising.
That's a good plan. That's actually really good.
It is.
And Sarah
Take notes, everybody. Great advice.
Sarah Ed says, books stop me in my tracks. The other merch goes along afterwards for me. And that is true. A lot of times it's add-ons, but I'll be honest with you, I've sold more free hugs and Spank shirts than I have books at certain shows. They'll just buy the shirt, but then suddenly I'll get a digital order later. So sometimes your merch can extend your reach in a way that you didn't understand. That's why I still do t-shirts to this day. I don't want to make money off of t-shirts. It's basically turning you humans into billboards. I'm sorry, but it's true. Yeah, that's why every one of mine have a website attached to it. And I really hope the QRC codes come back so people can just do it and scan it, and I can, own some space on them. And for the women's t-shirts, putting the QRC code has got to avoid certain areas. So I don't hear any complaints later. They might be put on like a back part where no one gets in trouble for scanning a code. But really, what about you? Are we getting some Silver Line, great, awesome merch?
I will say, I'll be the first to admit, I am terrible at that. I always have been. I'm a comic guy. That's where my comfort zone is. When I first got started in the 80s, we made we all of us kind of socked our money together, printed up a bunch of shirts, and sold them like crazy. I don't know why I didn't learn then that I should probably do more of that. But I don't normally carry a lot of stuff. I've made some stickers, some trading cards, some of the kind of the usual stuff. In general, they haven't really done much for me. But speaking of wives, it seems like wives are very very active in this group here. My wife has been working on a merch store for Silverline. We made some shirts last year for the Daytona Comic Con, primarily because we wanted to sort of create kind of a team look, right? So we all had matching t-shirts, but then the responses we got at Daytona was like, oh, those are cool. Do you have any of those for sale? And we're like, no, this was just for us, and so we are going back and printing up some, actually they're on order right now. So I should have a couple. Part of my problem is I don't have a lot of funds to, for a lot of the merchandising, you gotta, you can't just go out and print cheaply. You can't just go out and print, 10 shirts. You got to print like 50 shirts or something like that to get a decent deal on them. I don't have that kind of treasury. I don't have a rich uncle. I just don't have that. And so I have to be very careful about what we're doing. But we are my wife has been working really hard trying to create a merch store for Silverline. She's doing a lot of stuff on Zazzle. A lot of the creators are now telling us the images from their products that they want, so that we can put that on the merch store. So we're working on that. It is you can already go onto Zazzle and order a Silverline t-shirt right now. We haven't really publicized it just because that and I think a mouse pad are the only things that are available yet. So we wanted to get a little bit of product on there before we started, telling people about it. But hearing these guys, this is encouraging me to go out and do it because I have been horrible at it.
Yeah, let's put it this way. They no more than said, hey, everyone needs to wear a mask. And Joe put on our website that you can order a Star-Cross face mask. And so, yeah, starcrosscomics.com. Yeah. Go over there, order some shirts. It's pretty nice. So,
yeah, it's brilliant.
Rob, you're muted.
Yeah, I saw it. Jax is running around as always.
I sent you a link. Did you see it?
Yeah, it's already in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the Last Call comics. Did you want it on screen? I figured.
Yeah, I want the show.
Okay, give me a second. I'll do it. We do have to stop for a sponsor moment. Support your local charities as they struggle to help the community with these challenging times. And one of the ways you can do that is not only supporting indie creators, but helping us as we together, NSC Live, Hanging with the Web Show, and IndieAdvocates.com, and by default, Indie Vault, because we have affiliated to bring you the best news, and we share stories. We want you to support the Center for Disasters Philanthropics. I always say that word wrong. I'm sorry. COVID-19 Response Fund. Just click and donate what you can. Every little bit is appreciated, and that is in our chat room right now. You can find it under the CyberCon comment. It looks like this. It's a great charity to help out with different things that are going wrong with what's going on now. And one of the things I want to talk about as I bring up Varian's link in a second, I want to talk about pitching. And one of the things I love to do is play around with my friends. Whenever we're hanging out at tables, I actually try to outpitch their book and pitch it in a way that's better than them. I find it to be challenging and fun. And Roland's been on a panel with me where I just suddenly stop and go, give me your pitch. And it's better in person than online because it doesn't have the same dramatic flair. But one of the things I would do, and then we're going to talk about pitching, is, hey, Luke, have you ever said, hey, you get a grip, a phone grip? I had to do it. It had to.
I will now. I will now.
So how important is pitching, Roland? You're muted, Roland.
Yeah, I just saw that. I think pitching is incredibly important. In fact, one of the things that I do with the Silverline crew when I'm working with a writer, and when we're getting ready to do something, I said, okay, now here's the deal. You've got to write up a pitch, and you need to know it frontwards, inside and out, and backwards. And I know the people who travel with me can probably, or near me at a comic show, can probably give you my pitch almost as well as I can, because they've heard it dozens of times throughout the show. But I think it's vital, and I think it's vital that you are able to encapsulate your pitch quickly, because so many people who are browsing at conventions, they don't know who you are, right? So they're walking around, and if you can say, hey, can I give you my pitch? Most of them are going to say yes out of politeness, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them will say, no, thanks. Oh, yeah. For those, you just say, oh, great, we'll have a good show. But I would say, and this is no scientific numbers here, but I'd say probably 90% of the people are going to say, sure, go ahead. They have no intention of buying your book. They're just being polite and let you have a pitch. So don't take up 5 minutes of their time if they give you that. 60 seconds. Give them your pitch in 60 seconds. Encapsulate everything that your comic is about. And this is why you can't, if you have a library of books, you can't pitch everything, right? You can tell them, hey, here's a little bit about, what we do, but here's this book. Here's the one I'm pitching. And I think a creator who has multiple books ought to have a pitch ready for multiple stories. Or just say, hey, here's the title I'm focusing on. I will tell you this. I've sold more books to people not planning, and you can tell usually, to not planning to buy a comic on my pitch alone.
Hey, Roland, what's the pitch for Cat and Mouse?
Cat and Mouse is a story of a guy who gets a telephone call from his ex-fiance, and she says, hey, my kid's sister ran away. Would you go get her and bring her home? He doesn't really want to because it's his ex-fiance, but he's studying to be a cop, so he decides to see what he can do. He goes to New Orleans only to find out the kid sister has been caught up in a human trafficking ring. So he has to figure out how to get her out of the human trafficking ring and get her home. And yes, there are ninjas involved.
Ooh.
Very nice, very nice. So, Varian, how do you pitch your website?
Oh, pitch my website is a pain. But I tell people to go to the website. No, I tell them why they need to go to the website, because that's where you're going to find.
I've already fallen asleep, Varian. I've fallen asleep. You've taken too long. My interest is waning. Win me back. Pitch it.
There's pictures of the movie girls on there.
I'm there. What's the address?
There's pictures of the movie girls on there. I suggest that they go there. That there's sales on the website, and they can subscribe even to their favorite comic from us. So, because I find that sometimes people are we still do a lot of floppies, single issue floppies. People are afraid to buy those because they don't know when they're going to see me again. So we tell them, hey, you can go to our web store, you can subscribe to a particular comic, and we'll make sure that you get that in the mail when it comes out, or we'll send you an email like, hey, issue 2 is out, issue 3 is out. You got my web store up here. I was just when we're talking about marketing yourself, you see, we there was a flash house I told you about, the mugs, shirts, dresses. There's some fidget spinners which we have sold out, but they really made us a fair share of money for a while there. But those are actually bottle opener fidget spinners, so they're still in theme. If you click on it, like the yellow one, you'll see at the back of it. Those are just some of the books that we offer. But if you click on the back, that fidget spinner, you'll see that, at the bottom.
I want to point out that he's more excited to show a fidget spinner than his books. He saw his own book and was like, those are just comics.
Yeah, those are comics. I'm like, no one wants to read those. No. The thing is that we try to split everything up on the site though, so that you could, what you were coming for, you could find easily and not to go to the whole site trying to find stuff. But so that is a bottle opener. It's still on model. It's still on theme. Still for drunks. Actually, more kids have bought those than anything. And then we got shirts to match our comics, tech, drinkware, that type of stuff. But the pitch for the website is kind of like, go to our website. We do a 6-minute podcast there every week. It's called The Sixer. Download our app so we can get into your phone and constantly advertise to you about our stuff, how great it is. Do that stuff thing. I'm a horrible pitch man. Horrible. That's why I use girls in my movie.
You know who's a really bad pitchman? It's Luke Stone. He comes off so aggressive, so angry looking, and he carry around the Negan bat. But he was like, "Who's this Negan guy?" It was just what he normally carries around. No, I'm kidding.
I'd never even heard of him before. I saw you at the con. You're like, "What's with Lucille?" I'm like, "Who's Lucille?" Like the bat you're carrying. I'm like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
He outed himself. He does know who. He has been watching The Walking Dead. Ooh, I'm telling your congregation.
Well, I was gonna say that Luke's from what I understand, Luke's his ability to pitch his book. I've heard it. It's what was the phrase that was told?
Annoying.
Gnat-like.
Gnat-like.
Yeah, very gnat-like. You just want to fan him away, but he won't stop. You just
that's about right.
I don't know.
Please buy my book.
Luke, what's the pitch? Give it to us.
Oh yeah, so it's basically 23andMe meets the movie Taken. So if you, but I what I normally do is I'll ask 3 questions. Do you like comic books?
No.
Because you'd be surprised how many people actually will walk around with a Batman shirt on and they have no idea. When you start talking about Batman, they're like, oh well, their only reference is the movie.
So Luke, I don't like comics.
You don't like comics? Hey man, you know what? That's awesome. Are you having fun at the convention?
Not really. Every time I'm walking around, someone tries to stop me and talk to me.
Tries to sell me a book.
That sucks. We'll have a good one.
Here's one thing I'll tell you, Luke. Never ask a question someone can answer no to. You're setting yourself up for failure by that, and it's a psychological thing because you're giving them the opportunity to say no.
I do that on purpose because I've only got so much time at a convention, and I want to know yes or no. Do you read comic books? Yes or no? No. Okay, then I don't need to talk to you because if you don't like comic books, then you're not going to like this.
Argumentatively, that's not true. You should say, do you like to be entertained? I literally switched to that last year, and I got a lot of people to stop and slow down. And it kind of makes them think, well, a comic book could entertain me because you're switching the gear in their mind and opening them to the opportunity of being entertained. Who doesn't want to be entertained? Now, if someone says they don't like to be entertained, I'm like, okay, Mom, go away. what are you going to do at that point? But don't open for the panel. And Luke can do what he wants because he does better than me at Ancient City. So we still have to have a rematch somewhere down the line. We do. The broken voice that did it. But no,
I'm still going to beat you, though.
Yeah, whatever. We'll see. But with seriousness, never ask a question someone can say no to. It's a sales technique, and it actually works. Don't set yourself up for failure, or try to get them engaged into everything you want. Don't close the door. Even for my own fetish book, I try to start with something I disagree with completely, 50 Shades of Grey. But everyone knows what 50 Shades of Grey is. So I just go, hey, you ever heard of 50 Shades of Grey? And of course, everyone begrudgingly says yes. And I go, what if an adult told that story? And it suddenly gets people to giggle. It takes the sting out of the conversation, and it suddenly opens up the idea of, well, what is he talking about? I didn't instantly go, hey, you guys into fetish? You like to do fetish things?
Is Arnold Schwarzenegger pitching your book?
What?
Is Arnold Schwarzenegger pitching your book?
No, but like there's a crass way to do things. And I'm not saying he's doing crass by acting the comic book thing. I know a lot of guys who do that. I just found with entertainment it's better. But go ahead, do the pitch, Luke.
So I ask them, like, do you like comic books? Yes or no? And so if they say yes, I like comic books. Okay, then we get into it. I was like, okay, so do you like Greek mythology? And most people will say yes. I'm like, have you heard of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods? No. Okay, let me tell you about it. And then I'll go and I'll tell them it's 23andMe meets the movie Taken. It's back in the day, there was these stories from all these different religions that talk about angels coming down and having babies with mankind, with these girls they met, right? And so those babies turned out to be angel-human hybrids. They called the Nephilim, and the Nephilim actually predate the Greek gods by about 1,500 years. And so people that are smarter than me believe that the actual Greek gods were just exaggerated stories of real-life Nephilim. And I thought, well, that'd be really cool if these people continued to have babies on and on and on. And over time, their DNA got watered down into ours. And walking around right now in this convention hall, there could be people with a tiny little bit of angel DNA left inside of them. And it maybe one day it just wakes up. So it's like a recessive trait. So instead of a recessive trait that gives you blue eyes or red hair, you could have a recessive trait that gives you the ability to lift buildings or to teleport or to crush people with your mind. I think now that's pretty cool, right? But that's not really the whole story. So in our story, that's where we start in our world. But what happens is seemingly out of nowhere, people start to develop the powers of the Greek gods. And overnight, as quickly as these people start to develop those powers, they also start to vanish. And so we follow a small, intrepid group of heroes that is trying to find out who is taking them, why they are taking them, and where they are taking them. And they've got some really high stakes to it. And that's what the first 5 issues of Hybrids, the Sons of Gods is all about. Now I've got this super awesome package that I could put everything in, and you can get all 5 issues. You can get this sticker, you can get the trading cards, you can get the poster, you can get the t-shirt, you can get the hat, all for one low price.
So you have a package you brag about in public.
I brag about my package. Yes.
I like the pitch, but what is 23andMe?
Yeah, well, I'm the same way. Like
I like Luke's pitch, but I don't know what 23andMe. You said it was 23andMe meets what's
Taken.
that?
Do you know what?
I know Taken, but I don't know 23andMe.
Do you know what Ancestry.com is?
Yeah.
Okay, so 23andMe is the DNA version of that, where they take your DNA and they tell you what percentage of European you are, or African you are, or Dutch you are.
Isn't that what Ancestry does? I'm really.
They do that too. They both do it. Yeah.
Fathers the globe over hate both sides. So.
Yes.
They get your DNA and then they give it to the cops, and the cops come arrest your family. It's
the government. They're trying to clone us.
They're trying to kill us. And Sarah S says, "Oh, that shirt is something I would buy, no doubt. Who doesn't want a free Spanks and Hugs shirt? Seriously, I promise I'm not paying Sarah. She's just awesome. I swear this.
You have a super fan.
She's a great person. Always shows up in our videos. I appreciate that. But
fantastic.
That shirt really has sold well, and so is the Reaper. So the Reaper shirts, the one where I have a little Reaper in here, this sold well too.
I will say,
friendly love.
I will say I'm careful with selling shirts now because I gave a shirt to my wife's brother when he was still in high school at the time, 10th or 11th grade, and he wore it to school. And he almost got in trouble for that. A big Last Call Comics mug on. He's like, it's root beer. They left him alone. But he almost got in trouble for that.
Now, Martin says he disagrees with me. He says questions are filters. And I don't necessarily disagree with him, but it's It's more of a Jedi mind trick, Martin. When you ask certain questions, you close certain doors. If you read business books about selling and selling techniques, it's one of the things they teach you. I still filter people out. I have a great question. I create books about fetish monsters and more, and I watch how people's eyes respond to each one of them. The way that they look as I say the particular word, because I slow down, tells me which one they'd be interested in and how to pitch going further. And it actually works really well for me. So I do agree questions can be filters, but you have to ask the right questions, and that's the golden rule. Ask the right questions, and try to. And we've talked about this. I think me and Roland have talked about this at a couple panels too. Learning to read the people in front of you is super important. Are they anxious? Are they busy? Are they trying to not be your friend, but they just being nice to you, like Roland said? Some people you just
not always easy.
Yeah, sometimes you just go, "Hey, can I talk to you?" There are good people in the world who are going to be like, I'm not going to tell this person to F off. Of course I'm going to let them talk to me.
Read the body language.
Yeah, and some people will have a body language. I've talked to a person for 15 minutes and gotten to the end of it and was like, okay, so that's what I do. And they're like, okay, I'll take the fetish book and I'll take the monsters book. No expression. It was the weirdest thing, but he bought everything because I kept the energy up. I never saw a no. You have to look for the no's. If you don't see a no, you keep pushing, you keep pitching, and sometimes you got to bring up. As Luke said, you want to check out my package. I mean, sometimes you got to be like Luke and ask him, you want to see your package? I got packages here. So, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that questions can help filter your potential buyers away from your non-potential buyers?
I obviously do.
And that's what he said, Martin.
I do think that they can, but I mean, I've had people come to me though and ask me about because when you're giving that pitch, you have to be careful because we all get excited about our book. I've got a buddy who has issue 15 wrote down in his brain, and he'll tell you about it. He'll tell you about it at his table.
You need to remind him that he can't write in his brain.
Right. And the thing is, he only has issue 1 on the shelf. It's like issue 15 isn't there. There's no issue 2. You only got issue 1, but you're telling everybody about issue 15.
Yeah.
And
I cannot stand to hear someone tell me about their 500-page plan. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, what can I buy?
Yeah.
Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you have.
Anything I say to you going to stay private? Is anything going to say to you stay private? Damn, Roland. Damn. No, but it's true. Stop talking about it.
I never mentioned your name.
Yeah. No, but stop talking about it and start doing it.
Yeah.
I agree with Roland. I've gone to enough shows now for 3 years where I've done the same panels in the same area, and I've been going to New York Comic Con for a decade, and there are literally people who talk about doing comics for 10 years, and now there's me, and Buddy says it all the time. He has a library now. He started with some of you and has a library now. The difference is the effort. Right now, we're in this weird moment where you guys tuning in are hopefully learning and are going to apply this, because right now we're trying to endear ourselves to you so you like us and become fans for us, but we're also answering some great questions. So we're getting something out of this, and we hope you are too.
Yeah, please buy my books.
Yeah, that's the we're all here for Roland. We're all here for Roland.
Yeah, I'll piggyback what you said there, Rob. I actually had someone recently within the last week complain, well, you've got 5 books to sell. And I'm like, that's because I busted a tail to write 5 books and draw 5 books. Like you have got the same, you know what the difference is? I did it. I stopped talking about it. I did it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can pitch your 5 books because I can buy them right there. There they are. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different, I mean, that's different than if you were to say, hey, and in issue 20, which is, 10 years from now or 5 years from now. Yeah. It's like, no. I can buy these 5 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't tell me about what I can't get. Tell me about what I can get today.
Exactly.
I think that's because sometimes a lot of creators would get super excited about it. And we're like,
of course,
gonna happen. And
absolutely,
you have to kind of dial that back and remember what you have on the table is what they can buy now. They can't buy that vapor comic right now.
I will tell you this: I am a horrible what's the word?
Upside.
Consumer. Because when I am making the rounds, I have zero patience. Because partly, if I'm at a show, I'm usually also behind the table. So I don't have a whole lot of time when I run around. I'm going to talk to the people I know, right? I'm going to say hi and chat with them. But then when there's other stuff that I want to see, I have so little patience. If you can't get to the point about what your stuff is, I'm going to say, hey, nice to meet you. And I'm going to move on because I want to see the other stuff that I haven't seen. And your question about questions, I don't know that I have an answer for that. For me personally, I'm trying to think, do I ask, yes or no questions? And I would think probably there are times when I do, but I think it probably depends on the fan that approaches the table, because sometimes if a mother's there with the kids, I will sometimes say, hey, so do you read comics too? To know, can I engage this person into a conversation, or is she literally there just watching the kids? And so, yeah, so I don't know that I ask a whole lot of yes, no questions, but I can't say that I never do.
Now, Gary Henderson asks us if we're done with this. Did anyone else have anything to add about the questions?
No.
Okay. Gary asks a good question. What's a good website platform to use to make a website for your comics? And as someone who owns the internet, as Varian knows, and every website is mine, and that's a long joke that some people will get and some won't. Here's the answer. Don't make a website. You don't need a website if you don't know what platform to go on to. If you're that new to starting off to this, instead focus on having a social media presence and getting onto other people's websites, getting onto sites like Indie Advocates, getting onto Indie Volt. Unless you're a publisher, you don't need it, or unless you have a bunch of comics, you don't need it. For one or two comics, you really don't need it. And I love websites, but here's the problem. You're going to spend all your time trying to get one person from a social media point to another place off of social media. Yeah. It's a hard turn. It is not the easiest thing in the world, especially with Facebook and all these new social media sites not wanting you to leave. The truth is, build something on their platform. They will be a lot more open to helping you, or at least letting you do your thing, as opposed to trying to, and trust me, I have websites, I do this, I try to encourage people to leave the platforms. They do not get happy with you. They down throttle you. I'm sure Varian has the same thing. And he's got a radio station where he gets 10 times the listeners than he can get on a video because he's being down throttled because he is promoting something off the site. And that is a difficult thing. That is my opinion. I could be wrong. What do I know? What do you think, Roland? Am I wrong? Are websites kind of unnecessary unless you know what to do with them?
Yeah, I think if you don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't do one. I think that you don't want to make a website if you can't make it look okay. And I don't think you have to have, when I say okay, I don't think you have to have a Marvel DC, we could debate that, but a Marvel DC level website. I think you just have to have an okay website if you're going to make one, but don't make a bad one. Now, I don't know if this is contradictory to kind of what you were suggesting or not, Rob, but I'm one of these who believes that if you can, you should be everywhere. You should be on every single platform that you can possibly do. Now, that is a lot of work and a lot of time. I am far more active on Facebook than I am anywhere. Facebook than probably my website. I have Twitter, but man, that's just I can't stand going to Twitter because it's just a mess.
A cesspool of negativity is what I like to call it.
It is, and I don't like it. I don't like. Again, I said at the start of the show, I'm the eternal optimist, and I hate going to Twitter to see all these people just negative. I mean, literally 5 minutes there, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I gotta move somewhere else. I should be and need to be more active on Instagram. I don't get Instagram yet, but it's images, and I've got lots of those. So I need to be more active on Instagram. But I do hold to the idea that if you are a creator, you need to be on as many social media platforms, and that includes websites, on as many social media platforms as you possibly can make yourself do.
What do you think, Luke?
I'm a little different than you in that I think that a website is good to use, and there's a couple platforms I would use is Wix.com or Squarespace.com. You can build right in those, so you can actually use a template and they will look good. That goes to what Roland was saying. You want to make sure that your website looks good. Do not build a crappy website.
Yeah.
And make sure that you've got content. If you're going to post a website, make sure it's got a .com or a .net or something that, or .org or whatever it needs to have. Don't let it be like one of those free URLs that you've got to type like a million things in. And make sure that if you're going to do it, that you've got some content. Throw something up there. Have a reason for the website. Just don't have like a under construction page or a coming soon thing. Have actual content. This is what I do. This is why you should care about it. And here's how you get a hold of me so I can do it for you, kind of thing. That's kind of my rule for creating a website. But then I'm going to totally agree with Rob in the fact that the website's not near as important as your social media platform. Because I've got a website, but the traffic that goes to that website is minuscule. I get more response for jobs, for inquiries, for selling comics through Facebook and Twitter. And I agree, Twitter is a cesspool of negativity, and it is a terrible, terrible place. I have to
need
shower.
to be there.
You need to be there. I have to shower every time I leave that place. Okay, like I disinfect my phone, not for coronavirus, but for Twitter. It's such a terrible place, and you just have to be able to filter through those things. But Facebook, the Facebook groups, the people that you associate with are very important. That's why I prefer cons, and I like these things. Even the virtual cons, they may not all be. I may not get any backers today from this. To go to Hybrids and Sons of Gods on Kickstarter and back it in the last 23 hours. But I may not get that. But I'm definitely making connections with people that will, at some point down the road, be beneficial. Because relationships are, in my opinion, as beneficial as dollars are. So,
what do you think, Varian? Am I wrong about the website?
I think you're correct with the website in a way. I have websites. Obviously, I have Last Call Comics. I do disagree, though. Luke said use Wix and Squarespace.
Squarespace, yeah.
Maybe not right away, but in a year or two, both those services are going to bite you in the butt because they're there to keep you on their platform. They're there to sell. I've did some dollar by dollar comparisons, and I've seen where it would actually cost me more after a year to run my site on Wix than it would to do it the way I'm doing it now, substantially more. I had a gentleman come to me and says, you need to move everything over to Wix, the store, the site, everything. It's plug and play. Yeah. It's just drag and drop. It's great. And I'm like, no, I prefer the way I'm doing it now. I didn't learn coding and all that stuff just to... But if you don't,
I totally agree. Yeah, they want to keep you there, and it's good to start out with. But as soon as you can move away.
Yeah, if you don't know coding, if you don't got time to learn, or you can't find, no one knows it. Okay, if you don't know coding, then yeah, obviously use Wix. But make sure you're learning then, and preparing to move away from that. But I think having a website, it depends on what he's using the website for. Is it a website to make somebody aware of your book? Is it a website to sell your book to the people? If you're looking for a nice store platform, Store Envy. Our store is powered by Store Envy. They're gonna take a percentage.
So Varian, am I hearing you correctly? You are suggesting that people learn to code?
I am suggesting people learn to code. And that they learn to code. I'm suggesting people learn to code, and I'm suggesting that they gosh, I mean, because I had to, because the problem was when my first company, I handed a guy the keys to the kingdom, and I was surprised when I got locked out.
Oh.
And I said, "This will never happen." Yeah, I was surprised, right?
That's being naive.
And I'm like, I promised myself that would never happen again. That I would learn everything that I could. So even from coloring, I don't like to color my comics, but I will.
Yeah.
I don't like to have to code my website, but I will. And plus, no one's gonna do a good job like you will, right? And you know exactly what you want, and you'll keep on till it gets to the point that's where you want it. I mean, Rob owns 90% of the internet. CNN, Fox News, he owns it all.
Whoa! I do not own CNN. Don't get between them and
He's
Trump.
like, I'm not responsible for that one. Come
It's not
on.
even responsible. I don't want to be between those two lovers. I mean, they've broken up. It's really ugly. I don't want to be part of that. I just sold CNN away. Sold it. No, but to finish the question, and of course I was very negative about this on purpose, and they did actually say everything I expected these guys to say because they're professionals. And I appreciate that. The reason I don't want people starting websites is that a lot of people don't do it right.
Yeah.
Like everyone said here, understand a website is a commitment. You have to. I spent my morning pruning my websites with different parts of things that had changed. Facebook had changed an algorithm. This page wasn't showing. There's a lot of upkeep with your website. So if you're just going to park something to do it, then you're really just going to be wasting a lot of your time and energy. But the honest question is, use WordPress. I like Bluehost. They do well.
I use WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress works really well. And to Varian's point, you could do either one. They have a new, I forgot the name of it, but they have a new feature that does a lot of it for you. I like to be in the background with codes. I break in and change anything I want because I did learn in coding, like Varian had said, and I do agree with that. But ultimately, if you're not ready to create a website, don't do it. Don't just do it for vanity reasons. I do certain websites now deliberately just to be a placeholder, but I've also learned that I have to prove that I'm just not the indie devil who creates fetish books. I'm not just an advocate. There are things I use for professional reasons on purpose, and I understand the uses of the websites. And that's the point. If I tell you not to create one and you can't give me a reason you should, then you shouldn't be creating one. Every one of these people on the panel today, these amazing creators, were able to say, no, wait, there's a reason. And they had a reason. That was my point. If you don't have a reason, you shouldn't be doing it. But that is what I suggest personally, Gary. Thank you for the question. Bluehost does an amazing job. And the website builders like Travis Gibb, to give a shout out, he does a great job. If you need someone to build a website for you, make it look professional. If you can't afford one and you want to do a free site, you're wasting your time. No one respects free sites. I know it sounds harsh, but you didn't come here for me to baby. You came here because you think I have good advice, and everyone on here does. And we all kind of agree that long URL will just piss people off and make you look unprofessional because you couldn't afford it. Then just use Facebook. If you can't, we all been there. I'm not coming down on not having money. We're all creators. We understand being broke. What I'm coming down on is if you're trying to make yourself look professional and you're taking a shortcut, you stop making yourself look professional.
Yeah, go ahead and pay for that extra. Go pay for that domain name. And Gary, if you have any questions, I mean, Rob said it before. You can pretty much reach out to anybody, I think, on this panel and ask, hey, I'd be willing to help you out and help.
Okay, very nice.
Oh, here we go. Challenge.
I got quick Rob, pitch Dinosaur Man. Dinosaur Man is about an awesome man who's half dinosaur, half human being, who's trying to take on the evil cabal that has taken over his homeland. How'd I do?
Cool.
Yeah, and I don't really, I've read like 5 pages of it, but it's awesome. And you guys check it out.
Yeah.
We've got the filters already. I guess my comments are a little out of order. Sorry, guys. Facebook's doing its best. It's been around and it's getting beat up lately. So bear with us as we catch up with comments. I own the books and the movie of 50 Shades of Grey. I'm sorry to hear that, Sarah. By the way, no shame in saying that. No, I mean, it's okay that you read it. I just hope you don't follow anything it said. That's it, Sarah. I worry about you. Don't listen to it. 50 Shades of Grey really should have been entitled Law and Order, the BDSM Files. Rich billionaire beating up a young woman.
Sarah, Rob suggests you watch a television show called Bound on Netflix.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it, Mary. Don't get me started. We're not going to turn this panel into the things I hate. Martin Fierro said that's a long pitch. Martin, that's what she said. Sarah, Rob has a gorgeous dog, by the way. Dog clothing merch. I don't know if Free Hugs and Spanks would go on a dog well, but I'm going to ask you guys. What do you think? Is there a market for that one? The crickets tell me no. The crickets tell me.
Yeah.
Not even a joke for that one. Wow. A while back, someone said it's not good to give free not good to give free PDFs. I say it's good, or I wouldn't know how much I like Barbara Unleashed and became a fan. I think PDFs are fine to give for free. Books are not. Physical is never good to give away. Physical should be important, but I think that you can convert people, especially right now. giving away PDFs, I think, is the way to go. I've given away the Cat Dad and Supermom book. I've gotten a fan base from it, and Sarah's fallen in love with Barbara's character. What do you guys think right now? Is it a good time to give away your books and let people try you out, for lack of a better terminology?
An issue, maybe an issue. I can't. I mean, like when I say I don't like PDFs, I mean I don't like PDFs in the in your campaign, because I'm afraid that someone's going to take your book, print it out, or throw it up on whatever torrent site they possibly can, and that's a sale you're not getting. Again, though, if it's an issue, like if it's an issue of like one issue and you got like a book that's like 3 or 4 issues long, that's different. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, Rob, you've sent out your book to prove a point to people before that it's not this preconceived idea of what they think it is.
Yep, and I always shock people when people read it that it's actually a mature book, and mature in the right way, not mature in the look, their boobs, but actually mature in the way that it's well written and it's a real story. So I do think PDFs can prove a point, and I think that they give it empowers the creator to say, this is how good I am. Read this and you'll be back for more. And guess what? People come back for more when they read my stuff. So what about you, Roland? For Silverline, is there a preview book? Is there like a few pages of each comic?
I have both, actually. Now, not for each comic. I think, like Varian said, I'm not gonna give out PDFs. I also have the concern of the pirating stuff, because unfortunately, and boy, I hate to talk bad of places, but people often ask me if I have stuff on Comixology, and I tell them no, I don't. And here's why I don't: because I did a book, kickstarted it, did well, did really great at conventions. I put it up on Comixology, and then almost immediately I found it on a pirate site. I didn't give them the PDF. I'm not accusing Comixology because obviously they do what they do. But to me, the timing of the book going on Comixology to it going to a pirate site is too coincidental. So yeah, I if you ask me for a PDF, a free PDF of number 2 or 3 or 4, I would tell you no. But I believe in generously providing the first issue, for free to let people see it, let people or half the issue or something like that, to let them get a taste of it, because a lot of people, that they don't know you, they might see what you kind of posted, but you're asking someone to drop some money and take a chance on you, and if they're like me, I kind of like to see it. I mean, these are comic books we're talking about. I mean, it's the art that sells it. People want to see the art is what sells the book first. The story is what keeps them coming back. And so if I can't see the art at all, if you're not willing to let me see it, whether that's posting it on a website or on a Facebook page devoted to that, I'm probably not going to buy the book. But if you let me see the artwork and then kind of tease me about what the story is, okay, if I like the art, assuming I like the art, then yeah. But in a very long-winded way to answer that, I agree with Varian. I think that the first issue maybe, but after that, no.
And Gary Henderson said, are you on Comixology? I'm the same way with Roland in this, but it's also a different reason. Comixology's money that they give back to you is so ridiculously low, it is not worth my time. It really isn't. I'd rather push my own website, because either way I'd have to push theirs, because they're not going to push me. And I know that to be the truth. And this show is, of course, brought to you by Comixology now. But I don't think that they put any effort into pushing any indie creators' stuff. So you're going to promote something for a different site, do all the work, and get 10 cents on the dollar? No, thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I've actually got the first issue of Hybrids on Comixology, and it's been up there, and it's sold several copies, and I've never seen one dime of it. They say, oh well, we only do payouts of this much, and then the fees and everything. Somehow I've never been able to get to that much, so I don't like Comixology. I do give away my first issue PDF of Hybrids. There's a few reasons why. It's made its money. It's not as strong as the other books in the series because it was the first one that I had written. It was also, like my fourth or fifth book of actually doing a complete full book, of art and everything. And so, but I still believe so much in the story, and I've had such a great response from that one book of people wanting to get into the story that I'm more than happy to give that out to people as a gateway into the next 4 issues. I mean, it's just
right in the veins.
yeah.
Right in the veins.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I just want to quickly say, and I'll give it to you, Roland. I use WordPress. Anyone using Woohoo Commerce for online sales, I do actually use that. I call it Woohoo because I'm a kid, and I can't help myself when I see Woo Dad Who. But I do use that. And Martin had said he used it Square for his shops, Gary. Yeah. So I know you are asking in case you're just listening and on patrol, because Gary's a police officer and sometimes listen to us while he's on patrol.
Thank you, Gary.
So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Gary.
That's it, Gary. That's that. I just wanted you to know that was on the screen. Go ahead, Roland.
No, I was just going to say, I do have the book I was mentioning on Comixology. And notice I'm not mentioning the title intentionally because I don't really want you to go there and buy it. I'd rather you go to the other place. But I have sold more of that book print copies via Indie Planet. I try to make as many copies many books as I can available at Indie Planet. I like Indie Planet a lot because I don't have to maintain the inventory. You go on to Indie Planet, you can purchase my book. They print it, they ship it out to you in a nice way, and you get it. I get an email that says, "Hey, you sold this book. You got this much money put into your account." To me, that is fantastic. So I've sold more print copies of my book through Indie Planet than I have digital copies through Comixology. So I probably will not be taking any more comics to Comixology just because my experience there has not been good.
And to Roland's point, Indie Planet actually does a lot of good advertising. They get around, they put their image out there, they go to different cons, talk about it. So there's someone who's actually earning it. And then if we're done with this, I do have a side topic, and then we'll finish with all the comments. But I have a side topic. Do you guys actually think, and I know Roland and Varian, I'm sorry for putting this out here because it might hurt your feelings, and I don't mean it to, but do you think...
Unless you're talking about my mama, it's not going to hurt my feelings.
No, never, Roland. No. I kind of think if Diamond's gone, publishers are useless, unless, here's the caveat before anyone gets mad at me, and I've said this to Varian, so I know you know it's coming, unless they want to be like a Silver Line, where they're promoting their creators, where they're actually doing the job of promoting who's part of their line. And of course, Luke is part of Star Comics. Unless you're going to be a publisher who's actually promoting and taking their stuff to shows with you and having online interviews that are promoting other people, unless you're doing that, I think the day and age of publishers is over. Because there are so many small publishers who could get you into Diamond that used to matter, but if Diamond's going away, hold on one second.
Jack's acting like a chimpanzee right now.
Yeah, oh my God. I don't know what he's into right
Jack's acting like a kid who's been in quarantine right
That's
now.
That's right, yeah.
Man, the other day he was on the wall, and I'm like, how are you up there? No, but you guys think the day and age of publishers is now gone for at least the regards of trying to promote that we can get you into Diamond? Do you think that's going to drive?
You are opening a Pandora's box, aren't you?
I think that Rob, what you just said, the we can get you into Diamond is, well, is that as big as it is that the only thing you're offering? Because we've seen Diamond dry up. Diamond says they'll be back. They swear they'll be back, but now you got other companies jumping in saying, "Hey, we want to try the distribution thing too." Well, there's a crack in the armor. Now we see it.
DC said they're taking their ball and going to another place.
Right. I mean, so now there's, it's a free for all. The thing about it is, though, I mean, now for me, I don't remember a world before Diamond. That's how young I am. I don't remember a world before Diamond. So for me, it's like, holy crap, what's gonna happen? For others, like Randy, who's on my show, IndieVault, he's like, good, back to the good old days. I don't remember a world before Diamond, so I'm a little concerned, and I'm sure there's other people out there who are concerned as well. They don't know what's going to happen. Do we need publishers with was your question. I think that, like, for me, you said it earlier, I go all over the place. I go places that maybe my creators can't afford to go because they got a 9-to-5 job, they've got 4 kids at home, a mortgage, whatever. They gotta, they can't be on the road. I can go out there and get their book in the hands of people who don't go to the comic store. Somebody came to that show because they wanted to meet the Sons of Anarchy cast. Now they're going to walk through Artist Alley. I'm going to put that book in their hands. That's what I think publishing or distribution being a publisher is going to become. How many shows are you going to? How many people can you get my book out to who aren't coming into the stores? That's where it should have always been. To the smart people. I got a guy who told me, man, I need to get a new book out because I don't have anything new on the shelf. And I told him, you don't go to cons. You go to one con in your backyard, which is like 10 minutes from your home. Every con you go to, that's a new book because there's someone who hasn't seen that book before. But, and never mind. But I mean, this is the type of people who consider themselves, I've done the research. You haven't done anything. You haven't spent the money. You haven't done the time. You haven't done the research in this industry to even make an opinion. But whatever. I don't know.
I will say that picking your spokesman for you distributors, publishers out there, and putting people up who are less than reputable is only going to hurt you. So if you're a publisher, don't put people accused of bad things to be your front person. Don't do that right now. That's ugly. Let's not see that. Even if a person has been accused of something, do the Hollywood trick of putting them in the back until your internal investigation's over. This is a bad time to be a publisher, putting the wrong people in front of cameras. Did you have anything else to say, Varian?
No, that's it.
Roland, what do you think? Because you're a publisher, and I'm kind of poo-pooing on you being a publisher.
Yeah.
Meaning to.
No, that's okay. And it might not surprise you that I think that your question is not a simple answer, and it's not a one answer. And I don't think I kind of agree with the way you sort of directed it toward publishers, because I think the idea of publishers and the idea of Diamond are two different things. Unlike Varian, I was very much around before Diamond had the legal monopoly that they have. When I entered the industry, there were about a dozen distributors, and so and there were a lot of there was a lot of competition. Diamond was not my favorite distributor at the time. My favorite distributor was a place called Capital City. I love Cap City. They were good to me. They were good to the things that I was doing. There was a warehouse. I grew up in Mississippi. There was a warehouse in New Orleans that I would go to and visit and talk with the guys a lot. They supported independent comics. So I miss Capital City quite a bit. Now, saying that, it is what it is. A lot of people are mad at Diamond because they're Diamond. I get it. I feel you, but you can't blame Diamond for being the last man standing. They didn't, if you know the history at all, Diamond didn't aggressively go out and kill all the other distributors. They were literally, when the industry was collapsing, the last man standing. Now you could say, well, they took some business practices, maybe, I guess, I don't know. But it is what it is. Now, I am not convinced that Diamond is going away. I'm just not. They've been around too long. Love him or hate him, Jeppy is a smart business guy. I'm not convinced they're going away. Now, is it going to change? I think this is the time and the opportunity for the industry to change, because I do believe we need more distribution methods and avenues than Diamond Comics. Boom made the big announcement recently that they were going to start distributing all their graphic novels through oh shoot, I've lost it. But they're basically, I want to say it was it Ingram? I can't remember now.
Was it Random House? Because Random House has been big.
It might have been. Anyway, they're basically they're moving their graphic novel distribution out of Diamond and to somewhere else. Now they'll still do their floppies, I guess so. So I am encouraged by the idea that there will be other distribution avenues pop up. Now, so that's the distributor thing. Publishers. I don't think publishers are going to go away, because I think there are a lot of creators who either don't have the knowledge, don't have the drive, don't have the interest to self-publish. Some creators are just like, I just want to make comic books. I don't have any interest in trying to get my book into Diamond or into comic shop. I just want to make comics. Okay. I think publishers exist for those people. I think publishers need to be there for people like that. So I think publishers are not going away. And in reality, an independent creator is a publisher. When they publish their content, they are a publisher. They're just a self-publisher, right? And I think a lot of small press places, a lot of small press publishers are really just kind of one step above a publisher. I mean, Silverline. The only reason Silverline even exists to begin with, when I first started writing comics in the 1980s, my first thing was published in '89. Right, I was in Mississippi. I was one of these kids. I'm like, you know what? I really want to do comics, but I really do not want to go to New York City. I'm a country boy. I'm a rural kid, right? I don't want to live in this place with all these big, tall buildings and people are mean and aggressive and won't look at you. And, you know, I didn't want that. But I wanted to make comics.
I miss you, New York.
And so I started doing all these conventions around me in Louisiana and in Tennessee and in Arkansas and Alabama. And I started meeting a lot of these really talented people who felt like I did. They're like, yeah, I really want to do comics. I just, I live in Louisiana and middle of nowhere, Louisiana, and I don't want to move to New York. And so the idea just kind of struck me. I'm like, well, why don't I can put some of these people together. And so I started putting a writer with a penciler and an inker, and I started packaging. So Silverline actually began as a packager in the late 90s. And what I would do is I would put together projects with a team, and I would sell that to a publisher, kind of a packager / agent, because a lot of these creators didn't have. And this is not a negative thing. I'm not saying this in like, they're idiots or anything like that. No, it's just that people are built differently, right? And there are some people who are just like, look, I just want to draw. Hand me a script and let me draw. If you can take care of all the other stuff, if you can figure out who's going to ink it, if you can get the letterer, or if you can get it colored, I'm good, man. I just want to draw. And so I think publishers are good for those people. There are people like you, though, Rob. You don't need a publisher.
Well,
you can do it. You know,
I will give publishers credit for this, Roland, and I'll say that teaming up with a publisher who would be able to expand my reach would make sense if I thought the publisher would have my book on their table. I see many publishers out there who send out their publishing table, and they only push one or two of their creators' stuff, and that pisses me off. You're so disingenuous when you're doing that, and that's not Silverline. I've seen your setup. Everyone gets a fair billing. You try to pitch a Varian. I know hustles. I'm sure Starcross does the same thing. That's publishers doing it right. And I don't mean to be disparaging against them. In fact, I applaud the publishers who really are publishers. And my point was, I think a lot of publishers got too used to using Diamond as a magic wand as to join us. And if your book didn't sell, they gave up on it quickly. Because, Roland, like you, I talk to hundreds of creators.
Yeah.
So I hear the bad side of everything as much as the good side. And there are a lot of publishers out there. I know there's one publisher out there in Varian, I don't know who I'm talking about, who forces their creators to sell other creators' books. And I don't know if I'd be comfortable ever telling someone they have to do that.
I would never do that. Yeah, that's nuts.
And that's when they're paying for their table. They haven't been comped because they're part of this publisher.
Yeah.
They're not just, you're part of the brand, so anytime you buy a table, you have to sell, again, these chosen few their books so we can promote how well their sales are going. It's just ugly to me.
I would like to add an asterisk, though, Rob, if I can still have another 60 seconds to this.
Yeah, go.
So I think, Luke talked about his Kickstarter earlier. I think we're in an age where we're on that cusp, and certainly with what's going on with Diamond now, I am not convinced that if we can figure out creator to retailer, I'm not convinced that we need Diamond, that we need the traditional setup, because there are creators, there are publishers out there who do Kickstarters and never go through Diamond, and they're doing just fine, right? From the money that they generate through the Kickstarters, which some of these guys, I mean, now the one I'm about to mention is not necessarily just a comic, but have y'all seen the Todd Father's latest Kickstarter? 1.6 million. 1.6 million, and he got $1 million in under 24 hours, right?
You're talking about McFarlane with the Spawn thing.
Yeah, McFarlane. Yeah, he's redoing the toy and the comic. Now, here's the thing about that. If you go and look, and I don't have the browser up. If you go and look, he's pulled in something like 10,000, 8,000, 10,000 new people to Kickstarter. These are people who have never pledged to Kickstarter ever before. This is their very first Kickstarter. They're now aware of Kickstarter, and they're going to go, oh, I like Spawn. I like comics. What else is there? And guess what? Luke's there. He's got a book there. So is he getting some spillage from the Todd Father? You know,
I had a guy find me today. He said, I've never been on Kickstarter, and I just found you, and I'm glad I did. I'm catching up. So he got the big package. He's like,
sweet.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say this is absolutely the answer or anything like that, but what I do believe is that crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, these are alternate paths that weren't available to us 10 years ago. Well, maybe 10 years ago, certainly 15 years ago. This is a distribution method. Some people call Kickstarter a publisher. They're not. They're a distribution method. They're a shop. They're a whatever. This wasn't available earlier. This is something that's available to us now. We can go from Kickstarter to stores, from Kickstarter directly to the fans. So again, I don't know exactly how it's going to go, but that has to be an asterisk when you're talking about the way that when the Kickstarter start comics. But that has to be part of the discussion when you're talking about how is the industry changing and it relates to Diamond and distribution.
I'll add this about publishers is that I think a lot of the smaller publishers, or some people call them imprints or collectives, they're conglomerates of people that are individual self-publishers, but they kind of help one another. I think that the selling point of those is not Diamond. See, with Starcross, the selling point was never Diamond. It was one of those things. We don't have enough titles, and we don't have enough financials behind us to be able to say, hey, we're going to get your book in Diamond, because we understand how much it costs to advertise in previews, let alone, do the pre-orders and things like that. And and just kind of the stress of all of that, where Starcross, they've been making comics for 20 years, but they've been releasing them and publishing them on a small scale for creators who want to create a book, who want to make a book, but don't necessarily have all the knowledge they need to do self-publishing. And so it's kind of I think if publishers look at it that way, will help you be successful with your own personal crowdfunding. We're not going to crowdfund it for you. We're getting ready to launch a crowdfunding for a guy named Ken, who's releasing his second book. And so we're helping him put his thing together, and he's going to run it. But, we kind of help with those things. I think if publishers start taking some of the smaller ones, if they start taking on that kind of thing, then operate like some of these guys that's never been able to offer a Diamond distribution thing. Just because your book is in previews or you're on Diamond does not mean that you're going to make money. In fact, you're probably going to make less money selling a lot more books through them than you are on Kickstarter. And so we've always focused on Kickstarter, direct sales, and convention sales, because we knew that's how we could actually make money for our creators.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right. Now, I would say this for someone like Luke, is 5 the last issue of the series?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would say you've got your series done. There's no reason for you not to go to Diamond now. You can order the first, you can give them just month after month after month. Here's the first month, here's issue 1. Next month, here's issue 2. The next month, issue 3, et cetera, et cetera. No, you're not going to make much money. But if you can get it to pay for itself, then you've got additional product out in the shops. To me, I think particularly for you and for that series, because it's done, that's kind of a no-brainer. Don't lose money on it. Don't go spend $1,000 for a full-page ad, because it will not pay for itself. I would love to tell you it would, but it will not. And it's not that's not a strike at your product at all. It's just unless you put Spider-Man on there, it's just not going to happen.
They don't care. Yeah,
Well,
people don't care.
Hold on, I think Varian's been trying to talk. I'm sorry, you guys, because I keep seeing his thing go, but I think because we can't see him, we're not seeing him trying to talk. Varian, are you trying to add into this?
No, that was me bumping my mic. But that was a good point that they both made, and I gotta be doom and gloom guy here, but I would warn people, especially publishers, to start being very careful, because and I've heard the phrase thrown around, Kickstarter or Facebook publishers, where the publishers just go on social media or just going to Kickstarter or Indiegogo to fund your book, and they take half and all of that stuff. And that's your business model, that's fine. But I would warn people to always look for other avenues, because for the last, I'm against messed up. I'm pretty young. I know that for me, it's always been Diamond. Diamond was where you want to go. I think for the next generation coming, it might end up being Kickstarter, Indiegogo, crowdfunding is how to go. They will take those services away from you at some point, and then what are you going to do? So always kind of have your eye to figuring out what the next cog is, or the next direction for the industry is, because you get used to something, they take it away, you don't know what you're going to do.
No one's going to take it away. Varian, Facebook's going to learn how to crowdfund. Twitter's going to learn how to crowdfund. I think you're going to see that more crowdfunding. And I
wouldn't crowdfund on Twitter to save my life.
But they're going to try. They're going to try. There are other companies already trying to come up. You got people trying to track Kickstarters, trying to make money on it. You got people selling how to create a good Kickstarter and selling it to make money. This is a business now that's not going away. And now that Todd McFarlane came in and he did it right. He said, I'm doing this for this reason. I'm not just trying to cash in. I'm trying to be part of it. Right. I'm trying to be part of the conversation. I'm trying to come at you the right way. This is why we're doing it. I appreciate what he did. And like Roland said, man, he brought in a lot of people for us. So
I was wrong on the numbers. I'm looking at it now, and he's got 6,544 new backers who have never backed a project on Kickstarter before. It's still a lot.
That's still a good deal. He's got 12,000 backers, and he's exciting people. And normally me and Varian agree on most things, but that I've got to disagree with. I'll tell you what, I have a 5-year plan that I've only begun talking about. I plan to bring together a lot of indie, smaller publishers and try to make them into one giant publisher over the next 5 years, and make something that actually stands for indie creators and not just for profits, but actually making something that matters and that will withstand time and go beyond me, something that could go up against an Image, and not necessarily as competition, but as a different platform than Image. Image has to do certain books, and I'd be happy to trade back and forth books with them originally. And this is going to happen with us all coming together, because that's just what we have. We have each other at this point, and we got to watch out for the bad operators out there, and we got to support the good ones.
I'm very disheartened by the Facebook or publisher or whatever they call them that Varian talked about, where these small publishers will run a Kickstarter and then take half of the creator's money. I just don't.
I don't know. Are we talking in
do that
mysterious?
You'll see this. There's a guy on the screen right now that Rob keeps popping up, and he runs a publishing company. And apparently, that's what they do. Is they take half of that. And because here's the thing with Starcross, we let the creator run their campaign, and we help try to funnel fans that way and do the mailing list and all that kind of stuff. But it's their money, and like like when I close out here tomorrow at 5:00, and my campaign's done, that's my money, and I use it how I need to use it for my campaign. And if anything's left over, hopefully something will be left over from that. Then, all right, guys, then I can feed my family.
I need to cut this off, but we are out of time. So there is one final question I did want to get to before we leave. And I'm going to just read Brian's comment, and then we're going to get to the question. I agree with Roland, man. Crowdfunding not only is the best way to distribute our books, but we can forge a personal relationship with our readers in a way that is bigger, that the bigger companies won't, and
Yeah.
that's true. And it is all about connecting with you, the fans. Thank you for tuning in today and listening to us. I hope we've taught some people some stuff. I've got a great actual challenge for everyone, and this is given to us by author Deborah Parmley. I'm sorry if I'm saying that. I know I'm saying it wrong. Forgive me, dyslexia. I have trouble pronouncing words. But Deborah says, can you give 3 to 5 words to describe each of your brands, what you want us to remember about you? I'll start to give you guys a few seconds to think about that, and then we'll go around the room. All right, describe my brand. Let's see. I create fetish, monster, and more. And I think that's the best way to describe it. I probably cheated with the "and," depending if you count that as a word. United States of America, there's no "oh," so I cheated. What do you want me to remember about me is that I am a passionate creator who wants to entertain you. That's why I create comic books, because I love them. I do everything I do, from advocating to creating my comics to creating books about farting elephants that teaches morals to, you know, the answer to 50 Shades of Grey that an adult has written that knows about the community, to even monsters that aren't monsters but are human beings with genetic disorders. So I want you to follow me because I can entertain you, and I'm going to tell you a story that you'll remember. Who wants to go next? I'll actually ask for a volunteer for this.
I'll go.
All right, we got it, Barry.
For Last Call Comics is going to be quality, innovation, and fun. Those are 3 words right there. She said 3 words. You gave her a full sentence. I don't know what that was about. Trying to go over there and make yourself look better than the rest of us, Rob.
What I got to do, I got to stay a step above the competition. But what do you want them to remember besides your petty?
Then we try to put out quality books, and you know, the quickest way to find yourself outside of Last Call Comics is to turn in a book that's not quality. I'll run it, but you know, I'm gonna get rid of it if it's not quality.
And that's why I can't get a book with Varian. He just says my books aren't good enough.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rob. I'm sorry.
That doesn't mean he doesn't love you, though.
Yeah. Just practice more, Rob, I guess.
That's right.
I'm trying.
No pencils down for you.
No, back up. And in the other hand, Roland, what about you? What are the 5 words, and what do you want them to?
I don't know if I can concise it to. I kind of have to speak in sentences, I think. But Silverline is a genre-spanning independent comic book and graphic novel publisher that believes comics should be fun, and that is what I believe. I believe comics should be fun. What do I want them to remember about me? Probably that I love comics, and comics that I'm involved in are fun comics.
And Luke,
I like to make comics that make people have an escape from kind of the normal thing. You know, we've got too much reality, and so I like to make comics that give us an escape, but also give us an opportunity to think and maybe inspire us to be a little bit better today than what we were yesterday, and leave the wood pile a little bit higher. As a creator, I like to engage with people, and I'm a whole lot more than just the sum of my parts when it comes to writing and drawing and stuff like that. So I would like people to take that away, that I like to engage with people, and it's more about the relationships. But I do honestly believe that art can change the world. I believe that writing can change the world. And what we're doing is not just entertainment, it is inspiring generations to come.
Okay, and as we head out for the other great, amazing things happening at CyberCon, I just want to stress: stay safe, be smart, wash your hands, maintain a safe social distance, stay home when you can. We will beat this if we stand together and even alone. Remember that this is teaching us how important we really are to each other and how much we miss that interaction right now. Don't forget that when the gates open up and we're allowed out again. Treat people better. Treat people as we've now learned them to be precious, and we'll miss them when they're not around. On the way out, real quick, your name, where they can find you, and then just pass it on. I'll start. I am the underground indie advocating devil that can be found at indieadvocates.com, the Global Digital Comic Con, and MrAndersin.com.
I'm Varian Grant. I'm on Facebook or Twitter at Kid. It's KYD_V. Or every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Indie Vault.
I'm Roland Mann. You can find me on all the associated social medias. Roland Mann, M-A-N-N. My website is www.rolandmann.me. or you can find the Silverline at www.silverlinecomics.com and all the social medias.
Hi, my name's Luke Stone. You can go to that Google bar and just type in Luke Stone Studios, and you can find my website there, my social media, and all that kind of stuff. But if you would, please, very much in the next 23 hours, go over to Kickstarter.com and type into that search bar, Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, 1 through 5. We're just Hybrids, the Sons of Gods, and you'll find me on there. And check out that project. And we're doing pre-orders. Books will be shipping here in May. Everything's going off to the printer on Monday, and I'm very, very excited to share Hybrids, the Sons of Gods with everyone. Right now.
And can they get that hat?
And you can actually do an upgrade to get the hat. You say, hey, I want the hat. And so, yeah, you just up your pledge.
I want to thank everyone for being on the panel today. I want to thank all of you who watched us today. I want to thank both CyberCon and NSC Live. This has been a production of the Online Connections and OnCon Network and Experience, brought to you by IndieAdvocates.com. And really, without you guys, we can't keep doing what we're doing. So I need you guys to go out there and talk about the comics you love, share the great creators that you have met today, friend them, follow them. It's thanks to you that we get to keep creating, because you guys keep going to crowdfunding and you keep telling the world that pencils aren't down on creativity.
That's right.
Some publishers are giving up, but we haven't. Thank you all for being part of this. We're out.
Thanks, Rob.
Next great thing from CyberCon.